Hey everybody, Rodamon here. Thanks for tuning in to Oxygen Not Included, episode 50. So picking up where we left off, I would like to rethink what I want to plant here in this little Arboretum, is what I'm going to call it now. So to that end, I will be explaining the rules that pips use to determine how and what they plant. Yes, that is going to be a very, very important rule for us to discuss and clarify. So the first thing I want to do is to change the layout of the Arboretum. And then I'm also going to want to do a little bit of like cheap load balancing here. Because, again, we have some load balancing issues and I'm just going to throw gas bridge and not care about it. And then another thing I want to do is to start to set up transit tube access up here. So I'm going to put a transit tube access point, tubing for it, plop that on insulated tiles, and then start to set up a liquid lock, like a nice liquid lock for the observatory. So this nice liquid lock is going to have a big catch basin so that we don't spill oil everywhere. Like this. And then let's go ahead and plug this in. As I work on the observatory, I will explain what I'm doing more and more and more. It's just, initially, I want to do the pip planting rules. So the pip planting rules... Oh, and I also noticed one other thing. I accidentally snipped automation wire here. So let's get that replaced pronto. And speaking of that, now that we're using transit tubes, our power demands are going to dramatically go up. So I am going to add some wheezeworts in places that we previously did not have wheezeworts, because I'm worried about excess heat and damage. And then also to reduce our power usage, I'm going to cancel making glossy drecklets and stone hatches because we don't need them. And just make the regular drecklets, because I'm deciding to keep the drecklet ranch. It is a little bit of a lower power solution. It's a lower tech solution, but it's still one that works very well for us. So I intend to keep that low tech solution. Something else I could do is just set my ranches up to have a max of 8 critters, and then auto wrangle every excess critter, which I could do now. So let me explain the pip planting rules. This I'm going to set to 9 here. And then in this box, I want to set arbor acorns, as the seed. And then in all the other boxes, I'm going to allow thimbleweed back and disallow arbor acorns, so that I only have one container valid to store arbor acorns in the entire base. Oh, and these here that used to have coal, I can get rid of. Obviously, we're not storing coal down there anymore. And that also means, ooh, down here, we're ready to reverse course, I think. Down here, I'm also going to make sure that thimbleweeds are allowed. Thimbleweeds don't even really matter, but that arbor acorns are not allowed. So, seeds, arbor acorns, apply the settings, cool. So now there's only one box in the entire base that allows arbor acorns, and it's this one. And I want to build an arboretum, because I have enough reeds that I don't really need them. So I'll build the Arboretum. So now we're starting to deliver arbor acorns here. And then once I have the arbor acorns set up and ready, I will explain the rules of pip planting as well as I am able. Filter some water. The balancing seems to have worked with that bridge. Well enough. I also noticed that this... Oh no, we're fine. Yeah, this just doesn't lead anywhere yet. Okay, so up here in the natural gas generators, I'm getting rid of the source of light. Which does mean that we will tune up more slowly, but I'm going to add in Wheezeworts to handle the heat. And speaking of heat, the geyser over here is a mess and is really, really hot again, so I'm going to need to fix that. And we'll set this to 49,000. Or 4,900 rather, not 1,000. Alright, so now, we have already grown an Arboretum, but let me explain the rules. So the rules of pit planning, I'll read them off and then I'll actually explain what they mean. The tile has no more than 2 plants in a rectangle around it, 6 left, 6 down, 5 right, and 5 up. It only plants in tiles with less than 150 hardness, a farm tile or hydroponic tile. Pips can navigate to the seed, and there must be no buildings obstructing the plant's location. Atmospheric pressure has to be greater than 100 grams, and the temperature has to be roughly around the requirements of the plant. So, the 6 and 5 zoning. Let me explain this. So, originally, when we were choosing to plant in this location, the pip is like telepathic in a way. It will check around the planting location, 5 up, 5 right, 6 left, and 6 down to see if there are less than 3 or 2 or fewer rather plants. And the Arboretum was planted because all it found was these 2 buddy buds, which means that this was a valid planting location. One of the ways to plant plants for a wild pip farm is to do every other tile like this, and I will explain why. For the first seed, ignore the fact that I have buddy buds down here. For this first seed, it says, oh, there's no plants around me, this is valid. For the second seed, it says, hey, within 5 to the right, there is 1 seed, this spot's valid. For the third one, it says, again, it goes 5 to the right, and it says, oh, I see 2 plants, this one's valid. This one, it goes 5 to the right, it sees 2 plants, this one's valid. This goes 5 to the right, it sees 2 plants, this one's valid. And as you can see, you can just continue planting left to right, seed after seed after seed. Another valid strategy is to have clusters of 3 like this, and I'll explain those rules as well. For the first seed, it's fine. For the second seed, it says, hey, to the right I see 1. And then the third seed, it says, hey, to the right I see 2. So all 3 of these are valid spots. Then the next cluster, this one goes 5 to the right and says, hey, I only see 2. Here's valid. This says, hey, I only see 2. Here's valid. And here it says, hey, I only see 2. Here's valid. So you can have 1, 2, 3, space, space, 1, 2, 3, space, space, 1, 2, 3, space, space. This pattern here does not work left to right. It only works right to left. So let me demonstrate that as well. So let's say you trying to do the same pattern left to right. The first seed says, hey, there's nothing around me, that's fine. The second seed says, hey, there's 1 seed around me, that's fine. The third seed says, hey, there's 2 seeds around me, that's fine. Now this seed here looks 6 to the left. And it says, hey, I see 3. I'm not valid anymore. This seed here would say, hey, I look 6 to the left. I only see 2 seeds now. And as you can see, if you plant left to right, you have to put a gap of 3. Where if you plant right to left, you only have to put a gap of 2. Which is why in a pip's mind, when they're looking at a spot, they're looking 5 up, 5 right, 6 down, and 6 left. That's why people say it's best to plant top to bottom and left to right because they look fewer spaces to the right and the top. So if you work this direction, you know, top to bottom, left to right, you will get the maximum amount of plants versus working left to right or down to up. So in, you know, I already have one wild arbor tree, right? And here are the other 3 seeds. If I have another arbor tree here, so let's get that out. Get this this ladder destroyed. Let's see if this is a valid location. I can tell you it's not, but let's see if it's a valid location. So the valid location looks 5 to the right and 6 down. And in this area, as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3 plants. The 2 buddy buds and the arbor tree. Which means that even if we remove this ladder, the pip won't plant here because there's too many plants around. To fix that, oops, I really didn't mean to do that. But to fix that, we're going to have to remove one of these buddy buds. And that will be the only way to get a plant in this spot here. The reason why I'm doing every 2 spots is because of the size of the arbor trees, not because of pip planting rules. The size of the arbor trees, I'll demonstrate in that just a second as soon as I get my my beautiful little park sign back. I didn't mean to remove it. So the size of the arbor trees, as you can see here, they are 3 tall, 3 wide. So this arbor tree right here is going to grow this big. So I can't plant a seed right next to it because then there's nowhere for the branches to grow. So I have to skip to plant arbor tree here, plant arbor tree here, you know, plant an arbor tree here, which means skipping some areas. Skipping 2 over rather than 1 over. And that's only because the arbor tree is just a wide plant. Other plants in the game aren't wide like this, so it's just uniquely an arbor tree thing. Just arbor tree things, right? But I want an arboretum because arbor trees yield lumber, which we can use as a power source if we need to. So now that we've removed this ladder here, as I said, until this buddy bud gets pulled out of the ground, it's not going to be a valid spot. So now that the buddy bud's pulled out, you'll see that the pip will then navigate to the arbor seed and plant it. That's what they do. And here it goes. And now we can just keep on planting arbor seeds left to right, or right to left rather. And this spot right here, let's analyze it. I can already tell you it's valid, but let's analyze it. To the right, it goes 5. To down, it goes 6. To the left, it goes 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then up, it goes 5. So it sees 1 arbor seed, and that's it. It doesn't even get out to this Joya, because the Joya is far enough away. So this spot here, right here, is valid. New printables, shine nymph eggs, sure. The wild pips are the only ones that that plant stuff. Oh, actually, could you not do that sine curve? Oh, yeah, we're digging that up on purpose. Never mind. The wild plants are the only ones that the wild pips are the only ones that plant for us, so we're purposely not going to tame this pip. We're going to keep it wild and let it plant an arboretum for us. And also because it's wild, it doesn't need a food source. You know, we're not domesticating these pips, in other words. So this spot is the next spot where we're going to see these arbor acorns planted. And there it goes. Oh, it's planting. Okay, it's planting the hydroponic farm because it could also plant in a hydroponic farm. Now, here's a perfect example. Because it planted in the hydroponic farm, this arbor tree here is not wild. It is domesticated. Because pips planting into a farm tile domesticates the plant. So in a way, pips do domesticate plants. It's odd, sure, but it doesn't allow you to use domesticated, farming tiles with pips to make them wild. That's just not a valid use of pips. They don't work like that. Alright, so this is looking pretty good. I have a large catch basin here in case of when we do the bottle emptier, in case there's a big old spill. That's why I have this giant catch basin. Because the petroleum, we don't have any like free-floating petroleum, so if we do petroleum, it's probably going to be a whole lot of it that gets sent. I suspect. Alright, so this pip will eventually plant this arbor tree here. We just have to wait for it to... Up there it goes. And then... Let's do this one. And... I'm going to uproot here. And remove this farm tile. Destroy this farm tile so the pip doesn't plant here anymore. Or, alternatively, we could just plant something here rather than remove it. Which, would not allow the pip to, like, plant here. And we just need to put plant down there. So one of the disadvantages of all of this transit tube is, yes, we are definitely using a lot more power. So if we take a look at the colony reports here and scroll down to power, well, not power wasted, power used, as you can see, the transit tube access has used 122 kilojoules, which is sizably more than pretty much everything else. Measurably more than really everything else that we are currently using. Yeah, we're slowly evacuating this storage here, which is good. And then this auto sweeper is just sort of like putting into temporary boxes. Okay, and the pip has filled the 5th slot. And I'm not going to be able to put a last arbitrary here. Oh no, I could. Yeah, I could do that. If I don't have an extra seed, I only have 5. So this is also going to be a valid spot. We can analyze that if you like. But if we look here, 5 to the right and 6 down, it sees the jumping Joya and a single arbitrary. So this is a valid spot as well. And I might as well have as many as I can. And as you can see, this is a nature reserve. It meets the requirements. It has at least 4 wild plants. It is at least 32 size, a maximum of 120, meaning that, we get a huge morale bonus. And here's the 5th arbor tree that we're putting in. And I can put this buddy bud back now. So this pip here, I'm going to... Oh boy, I don't really know where to put it. I don't want to kill it. Because it is doing good works for us. So instead what I'll do is I'll put a pneumatic door here and just like, it's like kind of cruel, but I'm going to keep, no, actually, hang on. I could put the pip maybe in my other reserve. Yeah, I'll do that. Just so that I have a pip on demand when I want it or need it. So let's have a critter drop-off point here. There's no arbor down here, but whatever. And I'm going to close this pneumatic door to keep the pip sort of inside this nature reserve that I previously had. The reason why I can't keep it here, where my arbor trees are, is because in order to benefit from this nature reserve as a checkpoint, I need to remove this tile, and that would allow the pip then to just walk around my base and escape. And I don't want that. That would be a bit of a problem. Looks like, let me sweep this up, but it looks like we're just about ready to deliver oil and then petroleum to that liquid lock. Now all these are wild arbor trees are now growing. Alright, so this will be a pip drop-off point. And let's wrangle this pip as a high priority, so that I can start using this as a ranch. And then if I get another arbor acorn, I can bring the pip back here and plant yet another my last arbor tree in my arboretum. So we should be delivering the pip down here, where it could just hang out, and it's enclosed, right? It's an enclosed space, so we know where the pip will be, which is useful. And then if we get another arbor acorn, so here, if you take a look at the nature reserve, as you can see, our duplicants now pass through the nature reserve every time they go through the airlock, which means that they are constantly going to be gaining the huge morale boon of a nature reserve every time they pass through. And because it's only one tile wide, it's very, very easy for them to pass through. And the idea here is then to retool the base so that I'm going to be removing these bedrooms and just placing them somewhere else, and put like the recreation room and the dining room also behind a very sliver of a nature reserve. So you don't necessarily have to exit the base to benefit from their nature reserve. You just literally have to go eat, or have to go do, eat or recreate, and you're going to still get the nature reserve benefit. But if you can see here, for stress, or for, if we take a look at morale, we should see, where is it? I never really know where to look. Yeah. As you can see, the morale has nature reserve as a +6, and almost all of our duplicants are going to have that, right? So copious free time here has 32/18. If I take a look at skills, a ton of these guys have very, very, very high morale compared to their base skills. One of the requirements, of course, of the Home Sweet Home is that you maintain a bonus of 16 morale or higher, which I currently am doing, and that's almost, I can pretty much exclusively say I'm getting that because of this little nature reserve checkpoint mechanic. That is just about solely responsible for all of the morale I currently have, or all the big bonus, because it's giving a +6. And almost everyone goes through this checkpoint, which means just about everyone gets this giant +6 bonus, which is huge. It's absolutely ridiculously huge. For, I mean, it took a little bit of effort to set up, sure, but once set up, it's all set. So the next thing is to be designing, and repurposing an area for proper dining rooms and for recreation rooms. And I know that's not my top priority. So right now, what I'm going to be looking to do is to get an observatory up, and to also do the volcano taming. But then once we have volcano taming and the basic observatory, I will I'll be setting up better bedrooms and the like that make use of the nature reserve. So the idea here will be we'll have a pneumatic door, which will lead to our great hall, and then a pneumatic door, which will lead to our recreation room. And they'll be, roughly this size. I'll probably even delete this back here and just have them go straight back to the wall. Which then means something like this. This whole setup here can just get removed now that we're not having to set this up. Which also means getting this pump off. And we might need this pump sometime in the future, but for now it can be disabled. And then let's go ahead and put ceiling tile back in here. All these doors can be removed. Oh, sandstone. I don't even want sandstone. Just reject them all. As far as plumbing goes, I could leave this plumbing here, I guess, installed. It's not that big of a deal. If we need it later, we can install it later. And that is how to make... Oh, perfect. That is how to make a nature reserve and make all your duplicants very, very happy. Okay, we need to add in a little bit of a ladder or something so they can reach the mopping. And then here, we are going to start... digging a spot for our observatory. Whoa, that is a lot. All right, I'm glad I was looking. Remove that bottle. There's our airlock. We're going to sweep up everything else here and put it back down below. So that petroleum is then just going to be redeposited into the pool here. So it's not wasted or anything. So this is where our observatory is going to go. And the idea here is it's going to be a spot where our duplicants can desuit. I'll leave the floor intact for now. We're also, of course, I'm sure you're noticing, mining up some unique stuff like mafic rock. And yes, I am 100%, let's fix this. I'm 100% purposefully venting out everything in here. It's totally by design. I do want to add this here, but I do want everything out here vented because, it's... I want to replace it with oxygen that I've specifically sent for filtration or whatever. All right. So here's where our observatory is going to go, and that does mean that all this regolith and mafic rock is going to be in the way. One thing that we'll need is a exosuit, and I'm just putting it literally right back to where our last exosuit forge was. Yes, I should have just kept it. But we'll make some jet suits. And we'll get this igneous installed promptly so that the the atmosphere doesn't vent through this mesh tile. This mesh tile is just preventing the destruction of the liquid log, but we will need to airlock it. So there we go. We're getting that done. Oh, okay, that's fine. Done. So now this is all this can be vented out to space. And I'm going to dig a little bit lower, like this. I don't want it to all vent out to space because it's all like polluted oxygen. I don't care about losing a little polluted oxygen to space. It doesn't really matter to me. Alright, so that's a nice start of the setup. And as you can see, we are also building the what will future be a recreation room and a grand dining room of sorts. And then if we put pneumatic doors on the other side, these can be propped open. But this allows the nature reserve to continue all the way up here so that anyone passing through here benefits from the nature reserve bonus. So that these rooms are behind basically a nature reserve in effect. And that way, we can pass on the nature reserve to even people not traveling through our checkpoints. Alright, I also want to do a high priority sweeping here because this stuff's going to outgas forever until we clean it up. And this is also introducing some additional resources that I currently don't have storage for. So I'm going to do just that. So the way that I want this to lay out is let's go ahead and get a fire pole that eventually I'm going to have roll all the way down to the base so that we can not use the transit tubes for southern or some downward direction action. But we'll end the fire pole here because this is sort of the checkpoint. Actually I'm going to continue the fire pole down. I'll end it here. Because this is about as low as we normally go, and we can pick up... Actually, yeah, I could even go further. I could have it go straight down to... Yeah, well, we'll continue all the way down to, like, where we go to oil. So we'll have a ladder, a fire pole, and a transit tube system. And then this plastic ladder, will be plastic all the way up. In case we want to use plastics instead of or rather, we can use ladders instead of anything else. So that's a relatively large construction, but we'll get that done as a higher priority. Because just because we have a transit tube system doesn't mean we literally want everyone using it. Transit tubes are very, very, very power hungry, and as a result of its power hungriness, it isn't necessarily efficient to have literally everybody take transit tubes everywhere all the time. And then what I'm doing here is I'm going to lay out spots for storage for space stuff. And I will... I'm going to insulate it as well, because space stuff is hot. So it will be pseudo-insulated, Just a layer at the bottom here is all. Alright, we are going to need some drywall. And I'm going to raise the construction priorities of the drywall much, much, much higher. And then also we will continue to sweep. I don't want to crack through this abyssalite, and for a very good reason, because as soon as we go through that abyssalite, we will have issues with heat. So I'm going to leave a little shell of abyssalite here to sort of protect us from the, you know, the potentially very, very hot temperatures of space. So it will look something like that when we're done. And this will be storage shelves for hot space rock that we totally do not want introduced into our base because it will be too hot. And that includes mafic and it includes regolith. Both mafic and regolith can serve purposes in your base, but to be able to use them, you definitely need to cool them down. Otherwise, you're just going to be cooking yourself. And I don't want to be introducing those materials. So if I go down to the base here, that creates a very good point where these new ingredients, regolith, need to be prevented from being included in these boxes, and same with mafic. So now I've copied those settings across, and I'm going to paste them everywhere. Mafic and regolith is not welcome in our base. And that's also going to be true for the sweeper boxes too, these. Actually, these sweeper boxes could just be copies of everything else, and then I could just lower the priority. Yeah. Alright, so if I take a look at mafic rock that I've stored, it's only stored here. All the mafic rock on the map is stored here. I do have some regolith that got dumped out of my base. And what I'm going to need to do is to have valid storage for that stuff. And I do want to store that stuff. I just don't want to store it in my base where it will heat things up terribly. So I'm going to be adding in storages here for it. And then let's just make this an 8 here. We have some new printables. More Drecklid eggs. Perfect, because I was actually kind of low on those. So then this stuff here is going to be for mafic and regolith. And for now, I'm just going to store it like lazily. But eventually what we're going to do with this is figure out how to cool it off if I do want to use it as a material. As a building material or whatever. So here we go. And out here, as you can see, it's all basically mafic and regolith. What we'll also have is metals, as you can see. And those metals are going to be very, very hot as well. So if we want to use those metals, we have to be careful about, you know, how we store them and whatnot. So miscellaneous. What is it? Raw mineral. Mafic rock. So these storages now allow for mafic and regolith. So we'll have a place to put them. And as a result, this area right here will heat up a lot. And the reason for the heat is the constant meteoritic impacts like this generate a lot of heat. Generate a whole lot of heat. And without some sort of plan to deal with that heat, you know, you will overheat in your living areas and working areas. All right, let's just take a quick look at the base. So, yes, the natural gas hasn't overheated because of those Weezeworts. Oh, speaking of Weezeworts, oh dear lord. Speaking of Weezeworts, over here it's probably something unbearable. Yeah, it really is. That's entirely my fault. Put those Weezeworts back promptly. Do I really have... Wait a second. Do I have some duplicants out of the base? Or just 2 suits that are not delivered? I'm going to guess 2 suits that are not delivered. Or maybe I have some night owls. Okay, so... Nope. As far as I can tell, it's just undelivered suits or something like that. I was temporarily worried about guys that would be marooned. Oh, one other thing I need to do as a really, really, really high priority is get this built. Like, right now. Because I'm losing the benefit of the nature reserve because the room is too large. So these walls here and the doors will restrict the maximum size of the nature reserve. So that's all of a sudden has become the highest priority because I'm losing all the morale benefit of my nature reserve if I don't have that. And I can min-max this a little bit better if I wanted to. And by that I mean I could put this like vertical chute over closer so that these rooms can become larger if I need. But now, as you can see, it is... What size is it? It's size 94 tiles, and it has a maximum of a 120, so there's a little bit more space. But these rooms now are behind nature reserves as well. And yeah, I'm actually going to min-max it. So to that end, let's get a door here. And then we'll have the vertical doors, well, not there. We'll have the vertical doors here and here, like this. Just so that we have our dining rooms and rec rooms maximum sized, if we want. And this should be easy to build. Because it doesn't require suits. It's an internal and inside the base. It would look something maybe like this, actually. Alright, so this can be broken down. Oh, but that has oxygen vents in it, so we'll reroute the vents to not be ugly. And then we'll look destroy, 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 and put those ladders in. And then all this can be repurposed. Alright, let's just finish this off. It'd be a nice thing to do at the end of this episode, is to get this squared away. So then, at this point, ladders allow us to traverse more easily. So we'll get the ladders in. This spot's a little weird, but like, yeah, whatever. I'll fill it in. Just have it be a solid block. And it should be done pretty soon. Now, my hydrogen is not necessarily keeping up. Yeah, these Weezeworts are not lasting long. I'm going to need a better cooling solution over here. So I'm just going to turn this on to full pump. I'll probably just have it be a greater volume. And that's just a project I'm going to have to absorb at some point. Which means, inevitably... Yeah, I'll work on that. But I think if I uproot and replant... And this could be a project for the future. If I uproot and replant... We can sort of game the system for body temperature, and then eventually I'm just going to have it be a lot greater volume. And I'll show you what that... Well, once I build it, I'll show you what that looks like. Alright, so here we go. We've got now... we can set these all to open, which is fine. This little cubby hole here could be like for triage or something like that. I'm not really sure what purpose it will fulfill. But now, as you can see, this... Oh, and this door, of course, needs to get deconstructed. There we go. There's some construction tasks for just some tubing. But now, yeah, as you can see, it goes vertical. We are only using 103 size. So I could also hypothetically have it go down, like here as well. But these two rooms are now totally behind nature reserves, and we benefit from that as a result. And we can put recreation room and giant grand hall or something like that behind there. And that way, anytime we're going to recreate or eat, which, you know, or even a restroom, you know, we can what I could end up doing is having a bigger, grander restroom, maybe here, perhaps. And, oh, looks like hydrogen got through. Have a restroom here, and have that also behind the nature reserve. So if you go to the bathroom, if you eat, if you recreate, if you exit the checkpoint, all these actions have you traverse through the nature reserve, netting you a giant bonus of morale, warranting the cost of the project, which was expensive, no doubt. Okay, there should not be slime here. Oh, and this slime here is going to be really, really annoying. So I'm going to disable this, vent it out, and sweep it up. Unpermitted food? Now, I think they're just stuck because of a lack of ladder building. Could that be? Okay, now they're permitted food. Yeah, I have plenty of fried mushroom. There's no issue here. I am, of course, using up a ton of my gold amalgam. So, I am going to be needing to gold amalgam hunt. But let's get this slime out of the way so that it's not outgassing crap for us. And recognizing that this episode's run a little long. Just a little bit. So this is now perfect vacuum, as was intended. Just want to point that out. And what I'm going to do here is to have probably a 4-high sort of area. I'll put the floor, hang on, I'll put the floor lower. So a 4-high area here. And this is not going to be the top of the observatory. So I don't really mind, because the top of your observatory is going to probably need to be steel or something like it. It depends on how you build, because of damage from space impacts. Just pointing that out. Meteorite strikes blow up everything but like steel tiles. Steel tiles are the only things that are safe. Alright, let's see where the regolith is stored. Alright, so regolith should not be allowed in here either. So I'm going to go to missile... what is it? Why do I always forget where these things are? Regolith, no. And then raw mineral, mafic, no. All these boxes eventually are just going to get broken down. So I'm not that worried about it in the long run. But this stuff should be swept where it is supposed to be, which is up top. And yes, I will print some lime. Yeah, we've not been making steel for a while, but that's fine. Now our batteries, as you can see here, are not keeping up. And that is simply because the transport tubes, and if we look at the colony report here, power used, transit tube access has used 450 kilojoules, which is almost everything else in the entire base combined. Transit tubes are very, very, very expensive, which is exactly why I have this fire pole getting constructed, which we might actually run out of gold amalgam for, so that, you know, at least our transit tubes, while going back to the base, will be spared the cost, you know, because we'll use fire poles for return trips, having the demand for transit tubes. And then also having plastic ladders everywhere is going to encourage, you know, climbing ladders rather than transit tubes as well. So there's a lot of little, like, nice-to-haves that help to limit our transit tube demand. Because, you know, to simply put, at some point or another, if you use far too many transit tubes, you know, you pay for it dearly in power. Which is fine. Like, I'm happy to spend that. But it will become expensive. So trying to make it so that it's most bang for your buck is sort of ideal. I'm also just trying to stop the polluted oxygen and the slime lung. So I'll be setting up just a little bit of filtration here. So soon the Mafic and Regolith should be stored up here. And I'm going to keep this a vacuum until I'm ready to, like, fill it with oxygen of my choosing. It does appear as if there aren't enough suits. I'm sort of curious about that. Let me go to clothing in this overlay. I'm going to collapse as much as I can here for organization's sake. Alright, so yeah, no, there are no more exosuits. So the exosuit forge here will be responsible for making a few more suits. Maybe I counted wrong or misplaced them or something. I'm not really sure what's going on, to be honest. I thought I had exactly as many docks as I had suits, but you know, I could have miscounted. It seems that 2 of them haven't been delivered. So, stands to reason that it's not set up right. Alright, so the last of these Regolith and Mafic containers are being built. This, of course, is going to be continually venting, so let's get this insulated tile now that that slime has been removed from outside. And we'll remove this slime as well on high priority. Just get rid of all the slime so it doesn't, like, slime creep or outgas. There we go. So, let's collapse this again. Filtration mediums. Regolith is... that must not have gotten the paste. So copy settings and paste them. Once we set this up correctly, we should see that Regolith is finally stored properly up top, outside. I'll get there eventually. Just little misclicks here and there. There we go. There's Mafic being delivered. So I Can pretty much confirm at this point that it's working correctly. Also looks like the fire pole is fully constructed, which is great news. We'll start using it over the transit tubes, and as a result, you should see power usage from transit tube access maybe go down. It really depends on where the work is and where they're commuting to. But the long commutes, the other thing is we added these in for travel time. So temporarily, because I'm grabbing gold amalgam and setting up buildings that are pretty far flung from the colony, our commute times are probably going to be pretty high. But in the long run, we'll see a reduction to commute times due to these transit tubing construction projects and stuff of that nature. And we've definitely immediately seen a huge boon in morale as a result as well. And when I move the dining rooms and I move the set up some recreation rooms, there will be added benefits, on top of what we already have, which is really, really, really good stuff. All right, before I end this episode, let's go do a bit of water filtration, check in on... Okay, so our stone hatches are overcrowded indeed. And we should actually be auto-wrangling them. Oh, it's overcrowded because of the shine bug. We have nowhere to put the shine bugs. So I actually did that right. Yeah, the regular Drecklets are the ones with their population waning, but we're currently incubating them. And the rest of these shine bugs I'm just going to kill because they made everybody in my ranch glum. So they're kind of a problem. The exosuit forge is now done. Let's make, I guess, 2 regular exosuits out of iron to fill up the suit dock that I thought I had filled up, but maybe I didn't. I'm still sort of curious about that because it doesn't show that I have any extra atmo suits. All of the regolith now should be reading as either in transit or in storage. And yes, that is true. It's in transit or in storage where it belongs. And same with Mafic Rock. So let's go to Mafic Rock, which is a raw mineral. All of my Mafic Rock is in this box. Great, so we've set that up correctly. All right, well, that is a good place to end. So what did we do this episode? We set up a nature reserve. The nature reserve offers huge morale bonuses to our checkpoint and eventually to a recreation room and a dining room, and then maybe also a bathroom. We set up storage for space rocks, and also setting up a location which will eventually be used for an observatory and jet suits and a point of access to space. We are starting to reverse the storages of the chlorine tank, this temporary storages that we were sweeping for. We built, I guess I'm not done with that, but we built most of a fire pole and plastic ladder system all the way up and down so that we would minimize the use of transit tubes and only use them as an on-needed basis, and made sure that we had air conditioning, or at least Wheezwarts, for the added power generation that is required to run our natural gas generators. Which I now see that I can lower the height of the natural gas generators by 1 and benefit lights or something. I might do that next episode. So if you have any feedback for me, let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this episode. What is to come will be... I do want to set up a basic observatory so we can start doing higher tech science again. And then I will also want to do a little volcano taming, because you all voted that I volcano tam. Thank you for watching, everybody. I'll catch you all next episode. Farewell.